back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back. This show, Fox Robbins Show, is all about developing your best business ideas. We're cheerleaders. We're helping and encouraging. We want small business to succeed, and that's what we're here to help and provide advice and direction and so forth. I'm the co-host of the show, Bill Fox, but the other co-host is none other than the magnetic, vibrant, charismatic,
It's me.
and voltaic Coach Robbins.
What? Hi, Billy. How are you? Voltaic?
Voltaic. That means you're electric, man.
Yeah, I figured it had something to do with voltage.
He's an electrical engineer. He thinks he's being funny.
My misspent youth, you know. E equals EI.
We're going to talk. We've got a guest. We got a great guest who's a second time on for us. Jacki Rivero is an IT project manager, so she knows everything there is to know about IT and about projects and project politics and other good subjects. And so she's going to help us out today. We're going to talk about installation and best use of financial software. But don't you dare go to sleep. Say, oh, financial software. Don't sleep. Don't go to the fridge. Don't, hit the change button. This is going to be good stuff because financial software is vital to running a business well, starting a business and running it well. But over 90% of small businesses are not aware of the availability or have installed, understand, and make full use of what's available today. We're talking about package off-the-shelf stuff to help run the business. So, Coach, that's what we're going to try to attack today. And
I'll probably say it, excuse me, a dozen times just during this show. You cannot manage what you don't measure. And too many people don't measure things on a regular basis, and then they dig themselves a hole that they can't get out of.
Amen.
This, my announcement of disaster that small businesses don't use software, this guy, you have, in the last 10 years, you have counseled in excess of
3,000
small
small business entrepreneurs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you don't think for any reason that we don't know what we're talking about, we actually do, because it's like a survey service here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the coach knows. And so, Jacki, we're going to get into our first slide, which is big mistakes by small businesses, which is what this show is all about today.
And how to avoid them.
And so we're going to start grilling you on this subject. The first item: failure to separate personal from business finances. What do you think about that?
Right. This is sort of a preliminary to actually getting to the point where we talk about the software. One of the really common mistakes that many small business owners make is that they don't separate their personal banking and their business banking. And you really need to do that for tracking and for all kinds of other purposes. It's pretty easy to go to the bank and set up another bank account. So the number one step you really need to do is make sure that your business has a separate bank account.
Okay, and then the next one comes to my favorite. My favorite is failure to install financial software that's available today.
Right, there's a lot that's available. Now, most of us are probably familiar with the old Charles Dickens Tale, A Christmas Carol, and you have Bob Cratchit, the clerk, who's out there painstakingly writing on a ledger. And that might have worked 160 years ago, but things have changed since then. And there's a lot more reporting, there's a lot more expectations. And there are even some people out there who like to try to run their businesses by spreadsheet, and I can assure you, you can't run a business by spreadsheet. I knew one guy who was very adept with the spreadsheets, and he came up with this convoluted system with formulas and links and nesting and charts, and he had pivot tables up the yin-yang. But when he was finally asked about the financial status of his business, all he could produce were 18 pages of spreadsheet in teeny tiny print, and I can tell you, it didn't end well. You really need to find a financial software package. These things are easy to use, and they'll really help you.
It's really great today because even 15, 20 years ago, none of that was available.
Right.
And the capability now is huge capability, cheap, readily available. Just get it done is the message. We're saying another one of your points is failure to make full and complete use of the software that's available to help run your company. What about that? What's your thinking about that?
Well, it's one thing to go down to Best Buy and to buy a piece of software and put it on your computer. It's another thing to set it up and use it. And there's some things we're going to talk about later on that will help with that setup process. But it doesn't do you any good. It's kind of like buying a gym membership on January 2nd. If you don't actually go to the gym, it's not going to help you. It's not going to automatically get you in shape.
Oh, no?
So, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's my problem.
So a common mistake is people will buy the software and then they'll lose heart, or they just can't persevere and get it set up right, or they don't use it enough. And one of the examples that you brought before the show even came on were people that don't track their travel expenses. Travel is a legitimate deductible business expense, so the software will help you track that.
53.5 cents a mile. If you are out on business and you don't take that legal deduction, the IRS isn't going to call you and say, oh, excuse me, you forgot to take a travel deduction.
Exactly.
No, they're not going to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, and so we're gonna cover that further. I know that perhaps many watching the Fox Robbins show would say, oh well, credits and debits and accounting stuff. No, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about full and complete a picture to run all phases of your business. Okay.
Okay.
Getting a little bit hard, but let's go. Step one, your thought here, Jacki, is step one, get that separate bank account, and is that one or two or three or is it, and is that before you start the business or after? What's your advice to people about that?
Well, I would say that if you plan to be on business, the first thing you should do is get a separate bank account. You'll probably go down and get a business license, you'll file a doing business as, and then take that DBA and get yourself a separate bank account. It'll just save you an enormous number of headaches later on.
I have people who say, well, I'm a sole proprietor.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
Separate your personal from your business. It's all your money, yes, okay? And when you take money out of your business account, put it into your personal account, it's just a transfer, okay? You're gonna pay taxes on it at some point, yes, but you need to separate your business and personal. You're gonna do it if it's corporate, LLC, whatever, separate structure, you're going to do it, I would hope. But most of the time, it's a sole proprietor who says, well, I'll just throw it into my own bank account. Then you don't know what the heck's going on.
Jacki, credit card too, that would be wise.
Right. If you are in a situation where you buy things with a credit card, you should have a separate company credit card.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
And you
good.
can track those expenses. Those are cost
Exactly.
of goods. Those are, whatever your gasoline for travel, if you're not doing the 53.5%. I mean, you just got to keep it separate, especially if the IRS comes in and wants to audit your business. You want them to look at all your personal stuff too?
Right. Plus, your fee on your credit card is a business expense that you can deduct.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're using it for personal expenses, it's kind of like the home office situation. You have to be sure it's really, truly separate if you plan to take those deductions.
Absolutely.
And just about everybody likes to take as many deductions as they can get.
Well, I tell them, take every legal deduction you can,
Right.
But if you miss them, shame on you.
Exactly.
Jacki, your step two, your recommendation here, familiarize yourself with accounting terms, GAAP. Let's tell everybody about that, will you please?
Okay, one of the things that you should do is familiarize yourself with just basic accounting terms. You don't need to have a CPA level of understanding, but you should have some familiarity. Fortunately, here in the US, accounting is all organized under something called GAAP accounting, or generally accepted accounting practices, Once you've learned that, that is the lingua franca of the business world. You can talk to anybody about your business and you'll be speaking the same language. They'll understand what you're going after. So I would say your next step is to definitely become familiar with some common accounting terms.
Yeah, I don't think people have to understand double entry bookkeeping to any great degree. You're not going to need that, but you need to understand what the top line, revenue, sales, whatever you want to call it. You have to understand what cost of goods, variable costs are. You have to understand what your overhead is, fixed costs. You have to understand the difference in gross profit, net profit, earnings before interest and taxes. Just some basic terms, a half a dozen basic terms, and you're okay. But like I say, you don't have to understand credit this, debit that. That's for the accountant. That's going to be done by the software. If the wizards are right, if it's set up right, great. It's actually going to give you information you can use to make decisions about your business.
Absolutely.
And you're about to tell us why. We don't, what this advice about learning a little bit about accounting that Jacki and Coach are talking about, don't you dare go to sleep.
Not that bad.
This is important. Jacki's going to tell you why,
All right.
which is accounting terms are mandatory for, and tell us what your idea is here.
Okay, when we talked about the lingua franca in the business world, one of them you'll be talking to is a bank. If you need a loan, the bank is going to be interested in the status of your business, and they're going to assess that status based on these business reports that fall under GAAP accounting. And they're going to speak to you about your assets and your liabilities, and they're going to use some generally accepted common accounting terms. Another one are business partners. When we say business partners, we don't just mean the person that you formed your business with. It could be your vendors. If, for example, you create a product that you want to have sold in a retail establishment, before that retailer is going to give you shelf space, he or she is going to want to know what the viability of that product is, because they could give that shelf space to someone who might have a more saleable product. And the way they're going to make that decision is going to be through these reports and using these accounting terms. Another one, the IRS and the Department of Revenue. These people are 100% GAAP accounting. That's how they think, that's how they talk. If they ask any questions, that is the language they want the answer in. And last but not least is your accountant or your tax preparer. Last time I checked, accountants and tax preparers charge by the hour. The more you know and the more organized you are, the lower your expenses, because it makes their job a lot easier. Now, last but not least, we want to mention that it isn't a big deal to have to learn these terms. There's plenty of courses available online, and they're completely free. Any of those basic bookkeeping classes, if you feel better about sitting in a classroom, there are classes at the community college. There are lots of avenues that are, if they're not free, they're certainly extremely affordable, and you can learn them on your own time.
And just go to Google and say online, or excuse me, just say accounting terms, or, I mean, how would you look it up? What would you?
I would probably, when I just last did this, I looked up bookkeeper certification, and there were a lot of them that came up, and they gave you free bookkeeper certification. Well, whether or not you want to be a certified bookkeeper, it's certainly helpful to go through and take the classes and familiarize yourself with accounting.
Yeah, okay. And we're going to roll into reasons to automate. I mean, why do I go down to the business store and get the software and install it? And you've got what I consider excellent reasons here, starting with getting organized. So let's talk about that, Coach. Chart of accounts, customer, vendor, bank, employee, blah blah blah. What are you talking about there?
Well, one of the first things you'll have to set up when you actually go out and purchase software is something called the chart of accounts. Now, I won't beat around the bush. When you get financial software, the initial setup is going to take a lot of effort. However, the chart of accounts is not as complicated as it sounds. What it basically is a list of things that you need to keep track of, like your sales, the amount of cash you have, your accounts receivable, these are people that owe you money, or the accounts payable, things that you need to pay. And the chart of accounts just keeps track of all that.
Travel. Entertainment, telephone, Coach. I mean, it's all the stuff that it's the functions that are taking place every day, day in and day out, as you run your business.
Right, and one of the nice things about financial software packages is that just about all of them come preloaded with a variety of these charts of accounts to suit various businesses. So you can find one that is comparable to the business that you have and just adapt it to suit your needs.
That's great. I wanted you to mention that because the software people have gratefully said so. When you first purchase software and start it up, it will ask you to set up information for your company, but it will say, what kind of company are you? And you go down the list and you pick your kind of company, and whap, voila, there's a recommended chart of accounts. Now you can add or delete or change, according to your own taste. But you got a great start right from the beginning.
I personally like to see somebody, particularly people who are a little bit more uncomfortable with doing some of these things. For 25, 30 bucks an hour, you could have somebody sit with you for 2 hours that really does understand this stuff and just help you get started, help you get the thing set up, get the wizard set up right, pick the right accounts that you want to monitor. In 2 hours, somebody that really knows what they're doing, and it's a very good investment in my opinion, because you're going to get good information out of it instead of, like you said a few minutes ago, a bunch of data that is meaningless, that you can't use to manage your business. You're managed by information, not data.
Right.
And you've also added in reasons to have this financial software is generate so-called management reports.
Well, right. Before we get that one, the other point I'd like to make is that the nice thing about this financial software is also that it keeps everything in one place. So all your information about your customer contact information, phone numbers, you don't have to look at another spreadsheet or a book or keep a stack of business cards. And likewise with your vendors. These are your suppliers. Everything you need to know about your vendors, you can add everything right there. Banking information. It will help you manage your bank accounts, and another nice feature is that most of them provide the ability to do online bank reconciliation, which makes it much, much easier. If you happen to have employees, all the information about your employees you can keep right there. It also will keep information about sales and your inventory, and that gets to your next point about management reports. One of the nice things is that you can report on any of these things. You can ask a question like, who are my customers that are operating out of Mashpee? Or who are my vendors that are located in Minnesota? You can ask any of those kinds of questions. It allows a lot of flexibility for doing that.
Jackie, excuse me, Coach, go ahead.
Who owes me money? That's
Who owes
over
me money?
60
There's that
days
too,
old,
yes.
right?
And we're going to get to those.
We
That's
print
some of the
that
more
every
specific.
day.
Yeah, we're going to get to those.
But this point that we're touching on, Jackie, is so vital. It's not just numbers. It's what do the numbers mean?
Right.
Can you tell me, you are running your business, can you tell me which products are more profitable than others? Right now, I want to know, I'm asking you a question, can you answer that question? You can if you let the financial software bear that burden and provide answers and provide reports that are standard report, that are already provided by the software, or you can tweak and customize and get whatever you want, when you want it, real-time, online analysis.
Good information that you can manage your business by to make
so
sure you don't
important.
run out of those items that you're making a lot of money on,
Right.
because they represent 80% of your sales.
Do you know which you had, you ran 50 projects this year. Do you know which one was the most profitable?
Did you lose
Do you know which
money?
one you lost money on?
Did you lose money on any of them?
Some of them may not know.
And why did you lose it? Did you run too much time? Did you misestimate it? It's going to give you management information.
And your next
Right.
next slide, Jackie, Coach Jackie. More reasons to automate. Let's go through those, please.
Okay, one of the nice features that many of these products provide is the ability to create an invoice. It's a professional looking invoice, it's easy to read, and it's always there. I've seen some people run around with the little carbon books. It's easy to misplace a slip, then you don't know who owes you money, or you don't know how much money. There it is, you have a nice invoice. The customer can read exactly how much money they have to pay you and when it's due.
You can send it out that day.
And you can send it out that day. You can send it out by email in many cases if that's how you want to do it. It also provides, as everyone alluded to, certain reports that you might have about customer purchasing. You might find a customer has been purchasing a particular type of product. Maybe you would want to make more of that type of product. One example I thought of was in the jewelry business, where a particular merchant was interested in Celtic-themed jewelry. So the same person who was making the necklaces that the retailer was buying said, would you be interested in earrings or bracelets or something as a compatible product? And she was able to do that because she could see that that was the customer's purchasing history. And also when the customer purchases. You might find that a customer is purchasing a lot of things in August. That might be the time to have your inventory beefed up so that you can offer even more. And last but not least, we once again are emphasizing the segregation between business and personal finances. One of the examples I like to use is, say, a bookkeeper who has a PC that she uses specifically to keep the client's books. That particular PC, which is used exclusively for that business, becomes a depreciable asset.
That's right.
That's opposed to the PC that she has at home for her personal use, the one that she updates her Facebook page on, or maybe her kids play games on. But it really establishes a segregation, and it makes it much easier to track.
That's better than the business. I know when you ask the business owner, you know, how much money reaches into his pocket and pulls out a wad of bills.
I'm okay.
I say,
Yeah.
Well, that's what I got in my pocket. I guess I'm okay. I'll go on for another day. That's the accounting system.
Or, gee, you know, I've still got some cash in my bank account, I'm okay. The only thing dumber than that I tell them is, gee, I still got checks in my book, I'm okay.
Right. And those are big helps. And the customer, and also we didn't put it on the slide, but another thing that is interesting to track is vendor information. Sometimes you'll find that you have a vendor that offers a discount if you purchase between, say, October and December year end. So you can plan your purchases to take advantage of that discount.
Okay.
Yeah, you could be making up an order to buy from a vendor and you're buying $920 from them, and it'll tell you if you hit $1,000, you get free shipping.
Something like that.
Management information.
Exactly.
The next slide that you prepared for us says ease of use. And let's go down those, the ease of use, enter transactions.
Okay, yeah, most of the stuff is very transaction oriented. That means the only thing that you have to worry about entering are, I bought this, somebody bought this from me, somebody paid a bill, I paid a bill. It's on that level, almost like on a checkbook level, because all of those reports are going to be automatically extracted from that information for you. We get automatic reports. That's what we just referred to. You don't have to sit there and do the calculations and decipher that maybe just doing it all by hand, the Bob Cratchit method. You don't have to do that. It'll all happen for you. You also can customize reports. You can ask for, what were my sales in November? Or what were my sales for this product? Or what can I expect for the month of February based on the history? And you can even design your own reports. Maybe you want to see how many customers are buying this product, but they only buy it in the month of April. So many of them give you the ability to customize those reports as well.
Those, by the way, the reports typically can also be exported over to like Excel, Microsoft Excel, if you want a, you know, an Excel type report. You can also get charts and graphs if you want to be fancy, and have you know, pie charts and bar graphs and all kinds of good stuff if you want that.
Pictures and arrows on the back.
If you want that too, you know, by the way. And so, but this report, I consider this report deal is very. But you got to have all the information in there for it.
Right.
To get those reports. I mean, you can't. It's the old garbage in. You can't put garbage in, or even lack of garbage, and expect great stuff out the other end. You got to be faithful when you have a system to put all the data and put it on time and put it in the right place. Granted, you know, and you got to be you have to be disciplined to do that.
Exactly, and that's why, you know, we said that it's transaction based, which is very, very easy. You do have to enter the data, but you only have to enter it once, and it's pretty straightforward the way they expect you to enter it.
One of the couple of the nasty items that we didn't discuss is vital to small business, any business, taxes, sales tax or other taxes.
Sure.
And payroll. How about, you could run your own payroll if you want. I mean, you can always take, Coach, when a small business can take payroll and
Outsource it.
hire a company outside.
Sure.
Say, I don't even want to touch it.
Still gotta send them the information.
But the type of financial software available today, you can run your own payroll if you want.
And the nice thing about using payroll software, just as a side note, is that it is incumbent upon the producer of the software to make sure that it is in compliance with state and federal regulations.
Right.
So if you write it yourself or you try to do it yourself, you're in trouble. But for example, ACA reporting last year was a big deal. It is incumbent upon the software company to be sure that the ACA regulations are incorporated into their payroll. And that's a very important step.
And you can get your bank account, reports, well, from the bank or from your own system.
Well, that's reconciling your banks. And
Yeah.
one of the things that we had talked about was the perspective on, you mentioned debits and credits, from the bank versus your perspective. You have to remember that from your perspective, your cash is an asset. But from the bank's perspective, it's not. Because,
Huge asset.
right,
We're gonna, Coach, Jacki, we're gonna do a second episode
right.
on this and this line of thinking. So we gotta stop right now, but we'll do a follow-up episode on more aspects of the financial software information. This is the Fox Robbins Business Show. Thank you very much for watching. And now you can go to the fridge. It's okay. And but we'll be right back. And
So should you.
make sure and send any comments that you might have to foxrobbins@gmail.com. And thank you for watching. See you next time.